Welcome to The Youth Will Always Win. This podcast is here to inspire, challenge, and equip the next generation. Whether you're headed to school, cleaning your room, or navigating the busy moments in between, we'll explore what it means to stand strong in your faith and follow God in today's world. Each episode will dive into real stories, practical advice, and uplifting conversations, reminding you that you're never alone on this journey. So plug in, get ready to be motivated, and always remember, no matter the challenges you face, the youth will always win.
Welcome back to The Youth Will Always Win. I'm your host, Pastor Connor, and this is the podcast where we talk about faith, life, and how to win in the areas that matter the most. And so I'm so pumped for our conversation today. It is an incredible honor to me to be joined with Marty. Marty, what is going on, bro? How's it going?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. I'm glad you're here with us. If you don't know Marty, what are you doing? That's what I have to say.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, it's like, come on, man, stop sleeping. But he is been one half of the iconic duo, Social Club Misfits, a pioneer in Christian hip hop and in music, and someone who has really just been redefining what it looks like to mix faith and creativity and music, and maybe not do it in the way that everyone else is. And so now he's stepping in this new season with Apollo Records and a fresh chapter in his journey as an artist and all this great stuff. And so, Marty, what
a great intro, by the way. I was just tapping. I was like, yeah, sure, I am doing that. You're right.
I have been a pioneer. You're right.
Yeah, no, not a pioneer, but more of like, what a great life I've had in this industry, being a part of the iconic duo Social Club, and even now, Social Club never will ever end. It's like our Wu-Tang, like it's always gonna be there. But it's a new season, and when we were talking behind the scenes about this interview, you're like, what do you want to win in? And I was like, man, the first thing I thought to myself was like rebranding. Starting over when everyone already knows you. And so it almost makes me feel like like that was my process when I got saved, right? So everyone knew who I was. They knew that I was just a bad, trying to be funny, smart kid. And then God interrupts and just changes who I am. And then, people are like, I always get stuck in that conversation of like, I do things that aren't bad, but people are like, I thought you're a Christian, why would you do that? And I'm like, I didn't know that was bad. Like, are we adding things to the Bible?
We adding,
so I think that when I was like 19 and I got saved, that was a big part of my life. Rebranding, my parents, everyone, I needed to show them that Christ was really doing something authentic in me, and I had a reputation that I had to go against. So
that's great. So I guess before we really jump into like the present and the future.
Yeah.
And I know I kind of like hit on some things, but just give us a quick rundown of like, where did your music journey start and how did it all get to this point where you're at today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I've really even answered that in a very long time.
Okay.
Or ever. So I never wanted to be an artist. That was never the goal for me. It was never to be an artist. It was never for me to some people do have aspirations to be artists and they love that and they really work on their craft. For me, I started writing when I got into therapy around like 2010. And at that point, I had just had a really toxic, bad situation inside of the church. And the only way I knew how to kind of get over it was like expressing myself in different ways. And I think that at 19, all I could think about for me was like getting money and girls at that time. So then I have this interacting with Jesus. And so it's like, I don't care about fashion, girls, all the stupid stuff that I thought was very important in my life. And my priorities started to change. And, I served at a church for 4 years. They put me to Bible college. And then literally at the end of the 4 years, this is like my mentors, my pastor had, an affair, kicked me out of the church. Essentially anybody who was like not with, what he was doing and how he was rearranging things. It was just really, really toxic. And I even remember, I always think about this one moment, one of the elders in the church walked up to me and said, we have some serious problems in the church, because everyone was hearing things, but no one really knew. And I was like, you're right, we do. And that Sunday on the morning, he wasn't supposed to be there. and we had a guest speaker. He takes the mic, like walks up from the back to the front, takes the guest speaker's mic, and says, "I'm so sorry. Can you sit down? Hey, everybody," and then went on this long spiel about, if you're not with me, you're against me. God has his hand on my life, not on yours. Essentially, like
Oh my God.
I'm God's will in this situation. So, and I remember telling me and my family, my sister who was working at the church as well. So both of us, even a couple other people, hey, you need to leave the church, and everyone's standing there, sitting there, and I stand up and I just walk out, and I
Yeah.
remember I had plans for Disney World that same night. Like I was after church, go to Disneyland, spend 2 days there.
Man,
And I just,
that's crazy because I'm
yeah,
so
I
far away
still went to
from all of
Disneyland.
that.
Yeah.
You said I still went to Disneyland. That's
I
crazy.
was on like,
I still
Haunted
bought the,
Mansion, like crying. Like my
I
life
had
is
the Mickey
ruined.
ears on, and I was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, I remember going to Disney World like right afterwards with my cousins and stuff
yeah,
like that. And I had hotels and stuff. And I was like, all right. So me and my like 10 cousins were all going, like they're at church with me too. So I have like a bunch of people with me, and there's just this eerie silence of me trying to process things, I think. And so in that journey, I started seeing a therapist. And the therapist was like, "Do you have any like creative outlets?" And I really just didn't. And so
yeah,
I started writing music early on, and people would ask me, like, because I was always around the Christian music scene, like, how long you been rapping for? And I would just lie, like I just started, and I always felt like from every song, from the first song we dropped, Social Club always was popular. So I think that what I was releasing at the time was much needed, and it was just a different perspective at the time versus like Reach. I think when I first had come out, 13 Letters was the Reach Records album was dropping, and so that's
yeah.
I didn't even know how to buy your album. Like I didn't know, it wasn't sold at stores at the time. I think Anomaly was the only one, and that hadn't come out yet. And so at the time, I'm like, all my friends are, all my new Christian friends are listening to music and Christian me rap. And so I just started putting words together, and I always regret that because I really should have taken the time to put in the 10,000 hours, but I didn't. I just did whatever worked. And so, you know, 10, 15 years later, I went from being independent for 5 years, being signed for 5 years, and now I'm out of that, and I'm back to starting my own corporate label with my artists. And it's like this new place in my life where I'm a solo artist, still a part of Social Club, have a label. Like there's so many. I'm writing songs, producing for others. So that's I went, during the pandemic, I went to Berkeley just to learn more, and I just wanted to get better.
Yeah.
I always felt like I wasn't that good, even in the height of our success. I just felt like I'm phoning it in still. I haven't tapped into the gift that God has given me. And one of the things that I think people forget is that when God gives you a gift, you have to grow it, right?
Definitely.
You're just not good. That just doesn't happen. You just start off fresh good. That just doesn't happen. No one preaches their first sermon. No one cooks their first meal by just having a gift. You might see, like, there are people who will see you and how great you are and like little glimpses of it, but you have to mature in your gift and you have to grow that gift. And so that's on you to do. That's not on God to do. Your job is to grow the gift that he put inside of you. And so a lot of people fail in that area because they just either see that they're naturally gifted and then they just never work on it. I don't know really what happens internally in people's minds, but the worst thing is a gift that's not mature. That's one of the worst things. And you see, well, those people crash out. Those people are always, doing something off. And so there has to be the season of you in the dark getting ready. David, he had to kill the bear and the lion before he got to the giant. So everybody needs to go through that pruning process. And I unfortunately did not do that. And so through that process, I have recrafted who I am, and just refocus on what I love, what I want to do. And, I've taken all the experience the last 10 years of being in Social Club into this new record endeavor, that I've started. And so it's been going incredible.
Oh,
and I'm having fun.
It definitely has.
But a lot of bumps in the road.
Yeah. And so, well, first off, I'll say I love what you just said there, just kind of about like the preparation and just like taking a moment to realize that like not everything is overnight. And so that
Yeah.
doesn't just like relate to
Yeah.
music, that relates to any gifting. So I do appreciate you saying that because that is so true. That's powerful. But you're kind of talking about Apollo Records here. This is where you're stepping into.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a rundown with it. Like what is Apollo Records? What is the meaning behind it? What's the purpose? Even who's a part of it? Like, just kind of explain a little bit about this thing that's at the forefront of, I guess, your ministry and your music and what you're leading.
Yeah, absolutely. So Apollo is named after my son, right? I had a situation, a lot of people, some people know, but some people don't. Essentially, my son was born early, very early. I was in the hospital. Um, 2 years ago, this happened. He was born. He's about to be two. And 2 years ago, I was in a hospital for about, I think it was 69 days total, like living in, like, was waking up in the morning, getting a cup of coffee, 8 a.m. at the hospital.
My
My
God.
son was living in, he was just had all his cords and he was in a tube and he was fighting for his life, essentially just fighting for his life. And so I was there. It's a very hard place to be because babies are dying next to you. They call them butterfly babies. So I'm sitting in the most intensive, you know, room. There's only nurses and parents. That's the only people allowed. And there's no like, kids running around. It is a very quiet, somber room. And I'm just sitting there in this hard chair and I'm seeing, alarms go off for babies, parents crying. I saw, one of the things that really changed me was I saw this like 45-year-old man. He was a little older and he's just on his hands and knees praying. Like there's a curtain that would separate us because there's one big room, but the nurses have to be able to run in and out. So there's no doors. It's not like you have your own room. And I could see his feet, like just the feet bending on his knees, just praying to God, crying. Um, I've seen, like that sobered me up a lot. And I think having my son, I really started to think in the hospital room about the legacy that I want. Like who do I want to become? At that point, I had just moved to California. I was signed to Capitol Records. Capitol put me on a like a 1 year sunset clause, they call it. Essentially, what you can't release music or write anything for a whole year. Like you could work on stuff, but you can't release it. And even if they find out that you worked on it and it goes huge, they're going to want to take a piece. They feel like they still have you in contract. So I went to California and I had to learn how to like maneuver while not releasing music. And, luckily we had a couple tour dates, but I really got really big into the sync world over here in California. And that was the goal. California just has so many more opportunities to grow my gifting. And so I got into the sync world, which I hated and I still hate. And I love when people brag about sync. I'm like, it's the worst. It's not fun at all. You're writing in a room with 5 other corporate guys who are just staring at you. And then they're pulling up ChatGPT. What would ChatGPT say? And I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So, being in the hospital room, I thought of this idea, building a legacy, and I wanted to build a label that had something like a legacy attached to it, something where I could teach the artist to grow, learn how to fish on their own, learn how to handle contracts. Like, all my resources that I've learned over the last 10 years was intentionally put together to serve an artist who had a lot of potential, but just didn't have the ability to grow his gift or
Yeah.
felt limited in that. So the first artist that we picked up was Gavin the Hot Rod, who I felt like was just a diamond in the rough. He's incredible.
100%.
He just needed the right production and he needed the right mixing and he needed the right A&R to pull out what's the best part of him and then to kind of teach him the rope. So he was my first artist that we signed. And man, he's, his first song, Better Than Ever, went viral like the first week, did really good, over 15,000 videos. He was getting 20,000 streams a day, like killing it. And so, I was like, whoa, this is working. The next artist that I signed, besides me being on the label,
Yeah.
was who was the second? Trey God.
Hmm.
Trey Gad. He is a new guy coming out. He's got 3 songs with us this year. He's dropping a song called Is You Sad in November, and he is just talented, man. He's just pure raw talent. So another guy where I saw the potential, but he just didn't have all the pieces. And so a lot of artists, it's hard to admit that for artists to feel like, hey, I've got the talent, but I don't know what to do. And I see myself as somebody who who can help you, can help out your business, number one, but then help out your artistry. And so the second thing I did was I signed 2 producers. So I signed Andrew Prim, who just won the Dove for Love Like, what's the song? Love Don't Love Like That, the one by
Love
Hobie.
like that. Yeah.
Love Like That. And then Eli Williams. And so I gave them like ownership in what I do so that they could not only build their catalog up, but we could be collectively in this team that, like, I wanted Gavin and Prim to work together. I feel like they were the perfect, like, Gavin's great and then Prim is polished. So bringing those two together, it just, Gavin soared. He just, I literally tossed him a Hail Mary and he went and scored a touchdown. And then Eli's working with Trey. So like all these different pieces came together because I started building an infrastructure and just talking to my team about what I expect and what I want from them. I never wanted to be that label that an artist was like, my label won't drop this. Like, we laugh at people like that, you know? I'm the guy who will call you and be like, are you dropping or what? Like, what are we doing? You know?
Let's get to it, bro.
Yeah. Like, even Trey has a song coming out, Is You Sad? I'm like, I just like, bro, I'm putting it out. I'm just putting it out. So I did. Okay. So it's coming out. And he was like, okay, fine. But I'm like, you're sitting on gold. When that song comes out, people are going to be like, oh, this song is incredible. But I'm like, imagine it never dropped. Like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
And so I signed also another artist named Dieris, LJ the Messenger, another fourth guy. Fern is a part of Apollo as well. You know, then we have like a network artists who have gotten signed or connected to deals. And that's like a Breno. There's a lot of artists in our world. Yeah. Breno's my man. I mean, I produced I worked on 5 songs on his new record that are brand new and they're incredible. And so there's a song called Like That or Like This. This song is like one of my favorite songs I've ever heard. And so, you know, my job as a label owner is to give opportunities, but also I wanted to teach. I want them to learn. I don't want them to feel attached to me forever. I want them to move on, grow, and maybe even start their own label down the road. But I don't want you to be with me for over 10 years. Like, we could be friends and connected, but I want my artists to be self-sufficient and to figure it out for themselves. Because what happened to me when I left Capitol? They just were like, hey, you have 1 year, you can't release music, and then that's it. They'll never talk to me again. They never taught me. I love Capitol Records. They were incredible to me, but they never taught me. They never guided me. I never had an A&R that was like, hey, let's work on this style. Like, I just literally, you know, gambled my whole way through. Fake it till you make it. I'm the epitome of that in the Christian music industry. I just did my best to do what I thought everyone wanted, and I was having fun, and I was making money. And I feel like with Capitol, it was more of like I needed to make money, and that's the truth. Like, I have a family, I have a house, you know, like I wanted to make money. I didn't want to be one of those artists they're artistic, but they're broke and they have no streams, you know? Yeah. And so I had to learn that side of the industry, you know, different elements. And so all of that came together to build Apollo Records, which is just a label that wants to support artists. It's for artists, by artists. And another thing is I don't take a huge part of their masters. Our artists own the majority of their masters, like the highest percentage. You know, I'm talking like high. Like, we're barely making anything. It's a ministry for sure, you know? But that's the goal. You know, I don't want to take your money. I just want to guide you. And so, you know, down the road, you do well, great. Like, that is incredible. We're here. I'm here to serve. And so that's kind of been our phrase. We're here to serve. Anytime anyone needs anything, hey, what's up, man? How can I serve you? That's the culture that I wanted to build in Apollo. And that's what I have now. And I'm so happy about that. Like, our artists feel served. They feel protected. They feel loved. They feel like they could share stuff without people judging them. And so that's what I wanted. I didn't want artists that are just, hey, it's cool, we're cool. It's not about that. It's literally a learning process.
Yeah, and I love that. I feel like outside of Christian hip hop, you don't even like see that much. Like, someone who has in essence paved a way and has done a really good job at making music and being able to grow and build their brand and stuff. But like, just to see the level of investment like that you're putting in these guys and recognizing the importance, and then also not just doing it just to do it, but also coming from a place of, man, I wish I had this opportunity. Like, I didn't get this. It's crazy to hear from Capitol, you know, like that, that maybe you weren't getting the stuff that everyone probably thinks that you're
Yeah.
getting, you know, like,
There's a
oh,
lot
here
of
you go, here's
assumptions. You
this, here's
think
this, here's
that,
this. It's like,
yeah.
no, man, like it's not what it
Yeah,
is.
I think people think number one, the labels pay them. That doesn't happen. No, they're not getting paid from a label. You're getting paid from the music you release. They're cutting it up, and then you're getting paid twice a year. That's something like people think I get paid monthly or weekly by Capitol. Like, no, it's not a job, bro. If you don't do well, you don't make money, you get dropped, and that's it. There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
It's your plan. Like Capitol Records is a multi-billion-dollar business. Like they are enormous, and they don't have time to teach people, and they don't have time, and that's okay. That's not their job. Labels are banks. That's what they are, run by people who could help you with some connections, but they're essentially just banks. They have tons of money to give you, and if you know how to use that money wisely, you will flourish. But if you have the expectation that they're here to help you with your career, you're wrong. Like they can't write the songs for you. They can't choose the songs for you. They can't figure out marketing for you. You have to be able to have your fingerprint on the pulse of your career, or you will fail. And that's with any job or any place that you're in. If you work at a church and you don't know what you're doing, they're gonna fire you. It's just what it is. And so unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way in a lot of different opportunities that I've ruined or did, and so I come with all this experience of like, don't do this or do this.
Yeah, yeah. And so, well, I guess even like for you personally, like I know you're pouring into these artists and doing all these things, but like it is very clear, like looking through your progress, that there have been very big season changes, right? Just starting off, you're like, I didn't
Yeah,
even put in my 10,000 hours. Now I'm
yeah,
signing Capital. Now I'm leaving Capital. Now I'm starting this. So as you go through this, and I kind of ask it so like listeners can kind of apply it to themselves. How have you been able to stay true to who you are
yeah,
when the seasons around you change? Like when you're going into different seasons, how have you not compromised? Like obviously you've
yeah.
developed and you've changed and you've grown, and there's, the person you were when you started is way different, but who God has like truly made you to be, how have you not let that wagered? How have you not changed that?
Yeah. Um, I think that someone told me this years ago. They said, if you really want to be successful, just kill your ego. And I never really know, I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but there are so many moments in our life that our ego holds us back, or we think that we deserve more, or, like we assume, and our egos are not our friend. Our ego is not our amigo, they always say. And I've learned that when you start to take an attitude of, hey, I don't know everything and I'm just trying to like understand and I'm taking my time, people are way easier to work with. So,
Yep.
being independent, people would be like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I have no clue, bro. Like, I don't know what to do.
No, man.
I'm figuring it out. Even when people were signed to a label, like I hit up, I had my lawyer, I picked one, like, I don't want to say this, but our first lawyer we had wasn't the best. Our second lawyer was absolutely incredible. I just Googled lawyers, like I didn't have connections at that time. We had just, we're from Fort Lauderdale and we're doing our best and we're getting money from, performing, and we didn't even have a performance fee. Like we were figuring it out as we went. I think the core of who I am though is number one, I want to work. I love taking my time. I love, figuring out the marketing. Like those are all things I love to do. So for me, the core of who I am, which is man of God, integrity, like that never changed no matter what situation I was put in. Like the hardworking factor, that never changed. The wanting to learn and ask a billion questions, that never changed. In every environment that I was in, all those things were perfect. Even now, I have mentors now, but before, when I was with Capital and when I was with Social Club, we didn't have mentors. We're figuring it out as we went along. Now I have like a mentor. Now I have people who have had billions of streams and tons of platinum records who are helping me. And I think a big piece of that was moving to California and making all these connections with people who were in the mainstream and seeing how they operate and seeing how our Christian culture that we have is so opposite. A lot of it's based on what we assume the industry works at. And then you go to a guy who is, one of my guys I was working with, he makes $7 million a year, just sync. just sync.
Oh my God.
And so I went to his house, his studio's in his house. I went with my buddy, and we're writing a song for a Toyota commercial. And he goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, and I kind of felt a little bit. This is like, I'm on my sunset clause. I'm not really signed anymore. And I just told him, I said, "Well, I was with Capitol Records, and now I do Christian music. And I've always done Christian music. I love God, and it's just he's not Christian at all, by the way. And I'm telling him this, and he's like, can we look up your music? Can I hear it?" And I was like, "Sure." At the time, War Cry was number one on our Spotify.
Oh yeah, with Torn, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is 2023. And so we haven't dropped music in a while. We're on the sunset clause. He listens to it. Now, my perception is he's going to listen to this song and be like, "What is this? Like, how do I explain this song to him?" Mm-hmm. He listens to it, instantly gets it. And he's like, "Wow, this is incredible. I've never heard anything like it." It's almost like when you bring a friend to church and you're like, "I already think you're going to not like it." Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to like soften and make it nice and get you excited about being with me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those moments, and that's what I thought I was walking into, showing him my music. But instead, he was like, "Bro, I love this. Like, this is really, really cool," and it made me really change. Like, in our minds, we're like, "This music's corny," or "This not." In the mainstream, they're just like, music is music, and if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not.
We get in our head too much about it for
so much, and that was the main thing. My ego of thinking you're not gonna like it, or you're not gonna, or thinking about me the whole time. When all those things didn't happen, all my anxieties and worries, they didn't happen, and I realized that, like, people just want good music. And that's it. And so, and they're willing to work with anybody. This guy, he works with random people all the time, big artists, small artists, but he works with anybody who is willing to work. A lot of times when I'd go into these rooms at the label, the people who are in it are like, who'd you write for? What'd you do? Like, it's all about who you work with, what you've done, and like, what's your credentials and what's your reputation. And then when I work at anybody, almost every single artist in the mainstream, they were more excited about what I was doing than me of who I've ever worked with. They didn't care about that because their assumption is I probably worked with everybody, right? So it's like a funny difference. Like in the Christian industry, it's about who you're working with and who do you know? And in the mainstream, it's like, who are you? Yeah. What do you bring? Can you hold yourself? Can you hold it down? Like, if we're in a session and I'm making a song, could you make a song with me on the spot? Or are you going to need to take it home? Like, they just want people who are willing to work and serve. And so I took all those lessons over the past year, 2023, with my son and with working with literally, I was in a session 3 times a week, every single week for a whole year until my son was born. Then I started going maybe once a week. And in that process, it shaped who I am and what I believe now. And so for Apollo, it's all about authenticity. It's all about being who God's called you to be and not getting off the path. Like, even if an opportunity comes, say no. Say no. I'd rather you say no if it takes you off what we're already building. And then, you just, hopefully you have a foundation in the Word of God and who the Lord says you should be. And so, I went to Bible college. I served at church. I was a youth pastor for a little bit.
Okay.
And luckily, the lessons I've learned from the Word of God and who I am, in my room, the first song I released for
Time Out, though. Dude, that is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, that song was about me trying to find a church.
Yeah, exactly.
I just couldn't find a church. We went to 13 churches. I was talking about it with a pastor friend of mine the other day. He was like, "What was wrong?" And I was like, let me just give you one example, right? You go to visit a random church and the pastor calls God daddy, for real, like, not as a joke. I was like, I went to a church. Me and my wife looked at each other. We're like, is this really happening right now? Like, we went to a hippie church.
We didn't know. Like, you're expecting the Impractical Jokers to come out. Yeah, where are they? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So, and I remember, like, we went to a very hippie earth. I should have known because no one was wearing deodorant, It was just in a nice building. And I just like, let's go to this church. It looks like it's non-denominational and let's check it out. And so we went to about 30 churches. And so that song In My Room was, thank God I had the foundation of the Word of God and years of knowing who I am as a man of God, so that I'm not shaken because I didn't go to church for 3-4 months. Like, that's not the end of the world. I know who I am. Church is about the community. And so it's about the people, and it's not your daily relationship with God. Like, that's not what the church, the church doesn't cover up the daily relationship with God. If you don't have, and I hate to say this, and I hate to even pin these against because both can be true, but your relationship with God means so much more than if you just attend on a Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Attending on a Sunday
It
is
has
great,
to be.
and it's about worship collectively and being around people who love you and keep you accountable. But if you don't have that on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and you don't read your Bible, like,
You're done.
you're gonna be done. Yeah, so I have so many friends of mine who they're Sunday Christians, and that's not good enough, unfortunately, especially in this culture. Like, you have to know what you believe, and the Bible says you have to have a reason for what you believe. You know, if someone's gonna ask you a question, you have to have a response that,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, why do you believe in Jesus? If somebody's weak, they can probably, kick you off your thought process, and you're like, I don't know, you have to know what you believe and why you believe. And that's not going to sometimes come from the church. It's going to come from a daily devotion with the Lord. The church is kind of like, I always feel like it's like the birthday party. We get to celebrate, sing, have fun. We do stuff as a church, we serve our community, but the real work is the day in, day out. And it doesn't look cool looking to
Yeah.
do that. But if you want the results and you want to have a real relationship, it's going to take a day to day. I read the Bible every single day with my son. I'm worshiping, I'm praying. Like, my relationship doesn't change with God. No matter if I go to this church, which we just go on a Sunday just to go to church because we want to worship, or whether I'm in a part of a huge church where we're seeing, like, who I am. The church really, those churches, those buildings don't define who you are as a man of God or as a woman of God. And so the church is all of us. Of course, there's different phrases in the kingdom and all that. But what I'm trying to get at is you need to have that personal relationship, and you can't just be a Sunday Christian. It just won't sustain you now. Right now, it won't sustain you as a believer. You're going to fall off. Someone's going to trick you, and you're going to, you have to be aware that the devil is literally, the enemy is prowling, ready to get you at any turn. And you have to be protected and know what you believe. And so I'm realizing, like, most people don't know what they believe. And that's scary to me. Like, there are Christians that just don't know why we do what we do.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I'm almost like, maybe it's because we assume people know. But I know when I first became a believer, like, the first question I had was, why is there so much blood in this religion? Like, why is there so much blood? Like, I always joke about this, but my first time I went to church, I walked up to the worship leader and was like, please release these songs. They're so good. And he's like, what? Because they were Hillsong, like, I didn't know. I thought he wrote those songs. That's how new I was. So I just, we laugh about these things, but I'm all for having a moral compass and having a biblically accurate moral compass. And what matters. But, that's what's going to define you no matter where. You could put me in Thailand or Italy, and I'm going to still serve God. I'm still going to walk with integrity. That will never change, and it shouldn't change. And that's what maturity looks like. It's who you are in the room. Behind closed doors, you are that person no matter what, being authentic.
Marty, it's been awesome having you here with us. Before we go and we get in our rapid fire and all that fun stuff, kind of my last question for you, just in the midst of just the experience and the learning you've been having, and just the great opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So looking back at all the changes you've gone through, what's one lesson you wish you learned sooner?
It's a great question. I think one of the things I really wish I learned or just adapted into my life a lot sooner was learning how to say no. That was really hard for me.
Okay.
Learning how to say no is really hard because you want to please. I'm a people pleaser, and I had to learn how to.
Is that coming from an aspect of like just saying no to certain opportunities, or like that's what you just kind of took a
There's
hold
opportunities that I've taken that I wish I didn't do.
Wow.
A lot of times, you say yes because it's supposed to help your life out in the moment, business decisions, and then it just doesn't. And so I think for me, in the earliest part of my career, I went from being when I first started, I went from being like, this is who I am, get it, like it, or too bad. Then when I was a part of the major label, because there's so many corporate people and partnerships and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you're not like rocking the boat too much. And so you do stuff that you don't want to do. And so, on the song spoiler alert, God did. One of the bars I had was I had to make a couple songs that made me hate myself, you know. And somebody dissed me. They made a whole diss song about me
Are you serious?
from that. Yeah, I'm serious. It's like one of the worst songs I've ever heard. But yeah, it was one of the worst songs. So I was like kind of sad because I've always wanted. I mean, I've been dissed a lot by a lot of Christian artists, but
Like if I get dissed, like please, like
yeah, make it good.
Get your
Yeah, make it
production
good.
and mix up. Get the bars.
Yeah,
up yourself.
make it good, or at least like mix the song. At least like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, you sound,
You're
it
on
sounds like
BandLab right now.
He did it on this. You know, he did
Yeah.
it, like it sounded like a Miles song. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Yeah.
it's like Martin Luther King had a dream. You know, so anyway, just
Dude, that's
I think
so accurate though. Yeah.
you know, so I think knowing who I am and being comfy in that place and saying no to things that were not cool and not fun to do, but I did them, and it kind of, I look back at them and I'm like, why did I do that song, or why did I not work hard on that song, or like, you just learn from mistakes. And unfortunately, being that a lot of my music, I didn't have a time in my life to work on music behind the scenes. Almost every song like I worked on came out at the time. There was a time where that happened a lot.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn how to slow down, stop, trust myself, be authentic, and wait for inspiration instead of just trying to always write and make every album happen, features for everybody. Any Christian song that I thought would be great and that, would make me money, like those stupid decisions are just, they lack maturity.
That's so opposite of what I feel like many Christian artists, like I feel like that is the opposite. Like it is like, I'm putting out every single song I make because I don't know what's gonna hit. I'm putting out, which it's good to put stuff out or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But what you're saying about the opportunities, it's like
there's no checks and balances for me. I think that's really what it is. And I don't think Fern ever wanted to step in and be like, hey man, this is not good. Like he always was like, hey man, I'm just here to let's just work on this together. And so, he being my friend was like, I'm just here to support you, bro. And if that's what you want to do, I'm going to ride for it. So any decision I made, Fern was like, I got your back. But I think that for me, I compromised many times the authenticity of what I bring and who I am just to make either money or to make people happy. And I regret that. And I wish that if I could restart, like I'm restarting my career through Apollo, and I'm making every decision count instead of just trying to do everything, So that's something for me for sure.
Dude, I love that. And your guys' album comes out
yes,
November 7th, right?
Yeah. First single comes out in another week, and then the project drops 8 songs in which I'll send that to you. I'll make sure I send it to you.
Oh yeah.
In 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Oh. Well, I'm pumped for it. But before we wrap up, we got to go through rapid fire questions. This is always my favorite time, just to be able to hear some answers, and so we get to know you a little bit. So it's very simple. Answer as quick as you can, and we'll go from there. So first off, favorite restaurant.
Favorite restaurant? Man, there's a lot. I would probably say my favorite restaurant is Dada's. It's in Delray Beach. Favorite restaurant. Love it.
You said, you literally said, I don't want to go to
DADA.
Yeah, you already know where I'm going.
That's why I was like thinking about changing it before I told you. I'm like, do I tell him
say daddy? And then
it's actually the church I went to. No, I'm joking. No, it's called Dada, and I don't know why it's called Dada, but it's in Delray. Look it up. It's absolutely incredible. Best service, best food. Yeah, that's one of those restaurants in Florida I miss a lot.
Man. Closest thing we got is a Chili's around here. That's tough. Anyway, but not closest to that, but just we don't have like
fancy,
unique, fancy stuff. So
yeah, it's all chain.
Yeah. Favorite cartoon as a kid.
Favorite cartoon is Batman the animated series. That was a big deal for me. Number one, like I even have fun facts about it I could share. Like one of the things I loved about it was that they painted and they drew everything on black construction paper, or on black paper to make it feel darker. And I love that like little fun fact, because it was like the first, you look at Batman the animated series and the buildings, everything looks gorgeous and it has this aesthetic. And it's the first time I think as a kid that I even went to the movies to see Batman Mask of the Phantom, and I had to be like 12 years. I had to be super young. I remember being like, I didn't catch the first version. I had to catch the version when the VHS came out. I think it was like 97. I had to be like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it.
Dude,
Yeah.
Batman animated series is awesome.
The original one, Kevin Conroy, you know, even the Superman's good too. Like that era is great of animation. It's like adult animation. It's funny. It's like you watch that and I could watch it now and get something out of it. Like little kids really can't. They always treated us when we were young as we were smart. And then now if you watch like everything, it feels like you're stupid. You know, like every like, cartoon is, It's
so funny. What's a dream venue or city you haven't performed in yet but want to?
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I've always wanted to perform in Italy. I've always wanted to perform in London. Those are two specific places that I really want to perform at. One of the places that I really want to perform, it's a place that I see a concert like once a month for my wife. It's at the Hollywood Bowl. One of my favorite venues. It's extremely large, but also if you're in California, you get it because it's like LA nights are in the 60s and 70s. It's nice, cool, cold air. So when you go to this concert, the acoustics are incredible, but it's an outdoor venue. The weather's always amazing. People bring their own drinks. They bring their own wine and food and chips and soda, and it's incredible. I think the only thing they sell there is like ice cream and like sweet M&Ms. That's all they have. So you have to bring food. So like I'll be there eating in and out watching. Last concert I saw was Jungle. You know, one of my favorite bands. So yeah.
No, that's super awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So dude, if you ever come out here, plan to go to Hollywood Bowl and downtown LA. It's great.
Dude, I'll come out when you have a show there. That'll be
absolutely
that'll be the move. So
absolutely.
What is something people would be surprised to know about you?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a hard question.
No. I mean, a lot of people don't know that I'm a real big nerd. Like I'm a super nerd when it comes to comic books and collecting. Like you could throw me in a comic book store and I'll be there for like, I'll read the whole thing. I'm stupid like that. That's one thing. Another thing is I love to cook. I'm a big cooker.
Really?
Like, from scratch. Like last night I made chicken parm from scratch. You know, like I like to cook for people. Like one of the things I love to do at my old house was because I had a big kitchen and a big living room was cook for all my friends. So, you know, like Andy comes over with his family, John, where it's played, you know, like my friends would fly in, they'd stay at our house and just cooking for everybody always was my favorite thing to do. And seeing people like enjoy your food, like really enjoy good old school Italian food is, and I go all out, bro. Like I got the little basil, like I got little spoons for espresso. Like I go all out.
Spoons, man.
Little spoons for, it's the little details that matter, you know?
It is. It's the fine things. Yeah. Dude, that's how my friend Alex is. He
all out. Yeah.
He's
all
like,
out.
He's like, I gotta cook it up. So
yeah, like you ever seen that one guy on TikTok who's like an Asian bartender who's like very mysterious and like a ninja, where he like spins the glass and he's like a sword with it. Like that's the level I want to cook at. If you ever see that guy on TikTok or Instagram, it's like this like Korean guy who's a bartender who like makes it like your drink takes 10 minutes because he's like he's just spinning things and things are exploding like he's a mad scientist. I love that.
So you need a cooking channel basically.
I want one day. I mean, I'm just gonna cook. I only know how to cook Italian food. That's it.
So
my mom taught me. Yeah, best food.
What song of yours means the most to you personally?
I would probably say Right Now in My Room means a lot to me. And also the song Nope means a lot to me because, number one, In My Room came out in a place where literally was where I was at in California, which is like, I'm going to worship God. I don't need the lights. I don't need the choirs. I could worship God in my room. And that's one of my favorite things to do is just to shut that door, worship God. And I just pace for an hour praying and just thanking God and just talking to God. It's like my favorite moments of my day. And then the second thing I would say is Nope, because I made Nope literally in the hospital, 15 minutes, called Derek in the hospital and was like, hey man, I called him. I walked down, I'm like, hey Derek, do you want to jump on a song with me? And at that time our friendship was just getting better and better. And he was like, send it over, sent it over within like 10 minutes. Like he recorded it, sent it over, and I put the song out within a month of me. I think I left the hospital around like January 20th. So I maybe made the song like the first week of January and then it came out the first week of February. Like it was quick, but it was one of those songs that literally I mixed it. I did everything myself, super quick, but I made that inside of the NICU and I was just trying to find some type of creative inspiration. And so those two songs have like that memory of the NICU and my first months in California attached to it heavily. And so, yeah, those two.
No, that you would not have guessed Nope was made in a short
Right?
amount of time.
Yeah, you could tell I was definitely like distracted and like I was trying to think of anything but, my son fighting for his life, so I was like,
Oh yeah, you gotta.
I don't know. And some songs just come out like that. Like a song took 15 minutes. I made the beat at the hospital. I went home. I recorded it, and then the next day I'm mixing it, and that's when I called Derek. Like 2 days it took to make the whole thing, and by the end of the day, he sent me the file. It was mastered, and I had submitted it to be dropped. And like it was so quick.
With it, yeah. And then last rapid fire is if you could go back in time and witness one Bible story, what would it be?
Yeah, my favorite Bible story is the one that nobody likes, but I don't even like calling him this, but the story of Thomas to me really always heavily influenced me as a believer. I think it was one of the first sermons I've ever heard preached. It was by a guy named Chuck Smith from Calvary Chapel who preached it, and before he passed away. And so I think that story of Thomas they call him Doubting Thomas, but that's not even his name. They don't use that in the Bible, but sometimes they give you like a little like, hey, here's what the chapter's about before you read it in some Bibles. I think about that story and I know how it feels to be so connected to somebody and to lose them and to not accept the reality of the situation, And so he gets to the point where he's like, literally like, guys, like, stop pretending like it was Jesus. Like, I think you guys really want it. Like, unless I put my hand in like where in my fingers and his whole, like, unless I do that, I don't believe it. Like, that's how hurt and destroyed he was. And then what does Jesus do? He walks through the wall, which is another example of like, we put these walls up and it doesn't matter how much you could barricade yourself and say like, I don't want God, I'm not ready. He has the gentle way of reminding us, and through that story, for me at least, that even if I put walls and I try to block him out because I'm upset or something has happened where, like, God, why is this happening to me? He has a way of going through those barriers and being my friend and reminding me that he is God. He loves me. And I love that for me, the relationship that I have with God is I always believe that Jesus is very gentle in the way that he approaches even my failures, even my successes. And I've always felt like the Lord just like I've never had in any situations where I've ever been embarrassed by God. Right. I've never had a situation where, I've seen my friends who would go to church and the prophetic lady who jumps on stage is like, you're addicted to porn. Like, is that really that hard to figure out? We're all 16 years old. I always felt like, God, please don't call me out.
Yeah.
And then I look at the story of the woman being caught in adultery and he doesn't make fun of her. He doesn't shame her. He gets on her level and says, whoever hasn't sinned, pick up the first stone. And everyone gets humbled. And I think that when I see the humanity of Jesus and how he is so caring and loving, that is my response. That's something I want to do as a believer is, we should know them by their fruits. We don't know them by just them telling us that they know Jesus. Like you have to the fruit. So I've always been like the fruits matter and not the fact that you just proclaim that you're a Christian. That means nothing unless you show me that you're a man of compassion. And the best part about God, and this is how I'll end it, he leads by example. Yeah. Jesus leads by example. He shows us what we need to do instead of just telling us. He shows us what it looks like to be compassionate and to be empathetic and to love people where they're at and understand that, not everybody's perfect. Some people have bad days. And for the most part, we all need help. And that's why I don't really agree with this new theology that I'm starting to see where it's like us versus them. Like, hey, we can't have the Bad Bunny show. We can't be a part of that. We can't be a part of Halloween. We can't be like Halloween is my favorite time to witness to my neighborhood. Like that is the moment where people get to come to my house. That's where my Jehovah Witness neighbors who are across the street are like, are you serious? They're home, because they're always knocking on our door and I ignore them because I look through the peephole and I'm like,
I've been knocking every day.
Yeah, they're like, oh, there they go. The Jehovah Witnesses are like, oh, there they go. Like they're opening the door. But it is my favorite opportunity to witness to people.
Reverse card.
Yeah. And hey, you're coming to my house. Guess what? I have worship music playing, like not worship, but I'll have Christian hip hop. I'll have like real candy bars. Like I don't play around. But that is, I'm seeing like a lot of chatter of people being like, I'm not celebrating Halloween. And I'm like, yeah, you don't like, I don't know what celebrating means. So I just know that when people go to my house, they're going to hear Christian music. They're going to get a full candy bar, and they're going to know that I'm a good neighbor and I love, hey, God bless you. And I'm just trying to do my best to share the love of Jesus and not say it's us versus them. Because the truth is, we all have sin and we've all fallen short of the glory of God. The world's not heroes and villains, Even the Super Bowl, same thing. Like, I have a big party at my house during the Super Bowl. I have friends who I've met, producers, a lot of the guys who come by my house. They have a crazy influence. And it's my job to, first off, protect them and not take photos of them while they're there, like some creep. But secondly, like, the conversations and the way we talk around talking just about football, people should know that I'm a believer. It's not even about interjecting Jesus, but it's about having the perspective that's just so different than what the world knows. So every opportunity that these people or anybody says, hey, we should not participate or not be involved, those seem to be the opportunities that I love to preach the gospel and to share. And I hated growing up and you get saved and my church is like, hey, don't go to your house, shut the lights off. We're going to have it at the church parking lot. Trunk for, okay, nobody who went there knows. Everyone here is a Christian, and that's not the goal here. My goal is to share the love of Jesus that has totally changed my life, and it's that powerful. Jesus is not afraid of our sin. He's not afraid of spooky things that we all make up in our mind. I just want to see souls won for Jesus Christ. And so I even have a tattoo right here. It's my mom's handwriting. She wrote me a letter when I won my first dove, and I've never told the story, but she wrote me a letter. She says, if you win, it's great. And if you don't win, we love you. But the goal is to win souls for Jesus Christ. And that has always been my goal, as I just want to be an influencer for that and not an influencer for music or fashion. Like, I want people to know that you can love Jesus, you can have fun, and you can make great music, and we're making it overcomplicated when reality, we live in a sinful world, and I've just accepted that. But we're the salt in this sinful world. We're the light in this dark world. And that is something to be excited about. So, yeah.
Dude, no, that is so awesome. I love that perspective.
Yeah. Sorry, Forrest Frank, But I just don't agree. I love Forrest. I think he's one of the most talented, but I really believe in this idea where it's our job. We shine the brightest in the darkness. And that's okay. Like, he has his world, I have my world. This is my world.
Yeah. No, dude, that's so good. Marty, I cannot express enough how much I appreciate you just taking time to join us on this episode and just share a little bit about your heart on rebranding. And so for our listeners out there, we just want to say and just remind you that whether it's music, maybe you're a musician listening, but also if you're a student or whoever may be listening to this podcast today, just be open to what God's doing. Be open to move where he's going, wants to take you, and also don't lose sight of who you are in the midst. So we love y'all and we appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next episode of The Youth Will Always Win.
Let's go.